Okay, let's dive into this. Welcome to today's Explainer. Today, we're taking a look at a truly mind-bending text that, quite frankly, throws the physical laws we completely take for granted right out the window. It's an excerpt titled Move the Earth, translated from the writings of Zhu Feng. And what it does is ask us to literally tear down the mental walls of what we consider to be impossible. We're shifting gears from rigid physics to the absolute boundless potential of the mind.
Now, we all know that classic quote from the ancient Greek mathematician Archimedes, right? Give me a lever and a fulcrum, and I can move the earth. Historically, it's the ultimate mic drop moment for physical mechanics. But our source text here immediately dismisses this as pure nonsense. The author points out that taking this literally is basically like saying, hey, give me a spacecraft that travels 1 billion times faster than light, and I'll go visit a mythical realm. You see, it's trying to force a physical solution onto what is actually a metaphysical problem.
And this brilliantly illustrates the text's core premise. It totally redefines what true wisdom looks like. According to the source material, the true sage isn't the guy using brute physical force, sweating to move a literal planet. No, the sage is the one with the visionary understanding to find the fulcrum in the first place. They aren't just the pilot along for the ride. They are the architect who built the ship. It's a massive shift away from physical exertion and right into deep visionary comprehension.
Section 1. Breaking the limits. Let's look at what the text calls unconventional thinking theory.
So the text lays out this unconventional thinking theory, which is a concept rooted in Lifechanyuan teachings. The core idea? There is absolutely no such thing as an absolute impossibility. There are only people who fail to consider all the possibilities. And the author backs this up with some pretty solid everyday examples. Think about it, talking face-to-face with someone thousands of miles away, or watching events unfold in real time across the globe, right from your couch. Go back a few centuries, and those were considered flat-out absolutely impossible. Today, it's just a regular Tuesday.
Once you accept this premise, that impossible is really just a temporary mental block, the author starts throwing out these massive rhetorical questions to get our gears turning. For instance, can humans live for 10,000 years? Or let's push it even further, can they live forever?
The rapid-fire questioning doesn't stop there. The text keeps pushing the boundaries of human limitation by posing another profound question. Can all terminal illnesses be completely cured?
And finally, it asks, can people live in the Elysium world? Now, standard human logic is probably screaming impossible at all of these right now. But the text objectively claims that not only are these things possible, they're actually as easy as flipping your hand. Although the author does playfully note that the specific secrets to reaching this Elysium world are reserved for followers known as Chanyuan Celestials. The big takeaway the source is building to here is that these wildly impossible-seeming feats are, according to the text, absolutely achievable. The argument is that the barrier isn't the physical universe at all. The barrier is our own mind. According to the author, there is literally nothing that cannot be done. There are only things currently sitting just beyond the reach of our conventional thinking.
Let's move to Section 2 and see how this builds into understanding the structure of life.
To justify these massive claims about immortality, the text draws a hard line between life and pure physical matter. It defines life, capitalized as its own distinct concept, as a non-material structure that is inherently spiritual. The theory presented here is fascinating. As long as this specific, non-material structure is kept perfectly unchanged, a person can live endlessly. So the crucial point is how this philosophical concept actually applies to the physical body. The text outlines this precise spiritual mechanic for curing disease. Step 1. A terminal illness isn't viewed as a biological failure, but simply as an external symptom of an imperfect life structure. Step 2. You have to do the work to perfect that non-material structure. And Step 3. According to the text, once that spiritual structure is perfected, the physical illness literally vanishes without a trace.
Which brings us to Section 3, Paradoxes of Scale and Power, where the author explores how subtlety reigns over brute strength.
Let's jump back to that initial idea of moving the Earth. If we treat it as literal physics, the text sets up this wild scenario. Imagine using Mars as your fulcrum and you're standing all the way out on Pluto trying to pry the Earth out of its orbit. The text immediately calls out how absurd this literal approach is. I mean, where are you getting a lever that long? Who can even stand on Pluto? It contrasts this nonsensical physical approach with a metaphysical reality, arguing that consciousness creates reality, illness arises from the mind, and the environment itself is shaped by the mind.
To really hammer home this idea that true power is about subtlety, not brute force, the text lists out some incredible paradoxes. A tiny, practically weightless straw can break a camel's back. A Taiji master uses a mere 4 ounces of pressure to effortlessly move 1,000 pounds. It states the absolute best swordsmanship involves having no sword at all, and the most refined mystical arts have absolutely no form. Paradoxically, the strongest thing is actually the softest thing.
The source pushes this even further by playing with scales of measurement to expose our logical blind spots. It argues that measuring tiny micrometers with a standard inch is as wildly disproportionate as dropping an atomic bomb just to kill a mosquito. On the flip side, trying to measure vast light years with a simple yardstick, that's like trying to measure the entire Milky Way galaxy using single grains of sand. The argument is crystal clear. Forcing standard, everyday logic onto the vastness of the cosmos just doesn't work.
To anchor this whole unconventional thinking theory, the text draws heavily from ancient Eastern philosophy, specifically quoting Laozi. It says, "Great perfection seems flawed, yet its use is boundless. Great fullness seems empty, yet its use is endless. Those skilled in tying bind without ropes, yet cannot be untied." This perfectly reinforces the source's claim that true mastery and true capability just aren't visible or forceful in the rigid ways we're used to expecting.
Now let's step into Section 4, Holographic Thinking and Play.
Now, what's really interesting about this part is how the text rapidly scales up from curing physical illness to literally playing with the cosmos. It introduces a concept called holographic thinking. This is described as a joyful, boundless, totally unrestricted state. In this state, consciousness doesn't just experience reality, it actively creates it, treating the entire universe as its personal playground. The author writes that, with this mindset, you couldn't just lift the Earth, you could grab a broom and sweep the entire Milky Way into a dustpan just for kicks.
To make this highly abstract idea a bit more tangible, the text points us to mythology and spiritual teachings. It brings up the Monkey King, Sun Wukong, effortlessly executing a 108,000-mile somersault like it's nothing. It references the earth-traveling sun, a mythic figure who swims through solid dirt the way a shark cuts through water. And it quotes the Buddha Shakyamuni, teaching his disciples to let the mind arise without abiding anywhere. For the author, these aren't just fun stories, they are literal reflections of holographic thinking in action.
So what does this all mean for us? The core synthesis of this explainer is that ultimately, your consciousness creates your reality. When you finally shed those mental limitations about what you've been told is impossible, the universe stops being a rigid set of physical laws. It transforms into a boundless playground. The text views ultimate freedom not as some grueling academic grind, but as a joyful act of cosmic entertainment.
Which leaves us with the author's delightful, provocative parting words. Hey, my friend, if you have nothing else to do, try lifting the Earth for fun. It's quite entertaining. So I'll leave you with this. If the source text is right, and the only true limits are the ones we construct in our own minds, what impossible thing will you choose to play with today?